Good evening and welcome. This is our unit leader and parent orientation for week 3 of Summer Camp 2024. The season is flying by here, and we're looking forward to seeing your scouts come out and join us next week. To start us off here, my name is Brian Murray. I'm the camp director at RSR. We're joined by Jack Schneider, our program director. He's going to be talking to you in a bit here about all the fun and exciting activities we got going on for you this summer. We've been having a great, albeit very warm summer so far, but the staff's been doing great, and we're having a good time with the scouts that have been with us these first 2 weeks. As we're presenting tonight, feel free, if you have questions, to raise your digital hand or throw questions in the chat box there. We'll get to them as we go through, or we'll get to them at the end as well. We'll have time for questions, but feel free to let us know what anything you might need to know, and we'll go through some things here. So, all right. To start us off, I wanted to talk a little bit about our commissioner service. We have some great commissioners that work with us that are going to be coming through to the campsites each day to help check out the sites for cleanliness and sanitation and general overall upkeep, and they'll be giving you all scores on that, and based off of things like campsite improvement projects as well. Neat thing about that, top score each day has the honor of Honor Troop, which is the unit that will lower the flag at retreat and have the honor of raising their troop flag along with the U.S. flag the following morning. The commissioner staff is also a really important part of our communication between the camp administration, camp staff, and to you. Certainly, our door is always open to you. We're happy to answer any questions you have or respond to any needs that you might have, but the commissioners in particular are there to serve in that capacity, to help relay any information back and forth between the units and the camp. One tip that we do always like to share with you is to place one small handful of wood shavings down each seat hole in the latrines each day. That helps out with the composting process in our latrines, helps with the smell. The other thing that helps with the smell is keeping the lids down. That forces the air up the chimney stack. These are little tips to help make your experience a little bit more pleasant with the latrines and latrine cleaning, and it's something that our commissioners often ask us to pass on to you, so you have that little tip. Another useful tip, the quartermaster is available anytime that the trading post is open. Our quartermaster facility has equipment, has some cooking equipment, has a lot of equipment that you might need for any sort of conservation projects or campsite service projects are available there. And the quartermaster is open anytime the trading post is open. Now, we do tell you that the staff is the same. It's Janet that runs the trading post and is also our quartermaster. So she does ask that when we first open up in the morning and again in the afternoon and evening after a meal, when they get that first massive slushy rush, when all the kids are coming in to get their slushies, that's not the best time to be coming in and asking for, rakes and shovels or something like that. If you could let that first wave go through, and then she'll be happy to help you out with that. But also keep in mind that if the trading post is busy or it's not open, the basic staples, things that you need all the time, things like toilet paper, garbage bags, wood chips, we have that at the office as well. And so please just go ahead and stop by the office. There's almost always somebody in here except for meal times, and so we can take care of you there. You don't necessarily have to go to the quartermaster for those kinds of things. Other kinds of things like cooking equipment and campsite project equipment, that stuff's going to be at the QM, but we can also go down and get that for you if it's outside those hours or if Janet's busy. So let us know, and let us know how we can help you with that. Okay, wanted to start with talking a little bit about our Sunday procedures for check-in. Our check-in time is 1 o'clock. We do ask that the units not begin gathering in the parking lot until 12:30. That is because the staff is coming in and taking care of some projects around camp, making sure that everything's ready for you. And we have a staff meeting at noon. So about 12:45, 1 o'clock is the earliest that we can get up to take care of you up there. And the last thing we want is a whole bunch of scouts having to sit and wait in the parking lot because we're not ready for them, because we're still taking care of those processes. So we'd ask that you not gather before 12:30, and then come on up, and we will begin escorting you to the campsites at 1 o'clock. So staff guides will be assigned to each troop. They will greet your troop in the parking lot at 1 p.m. Really important, when the staff guide comes to greet you, please, the scoutmaster or whatever adult leader is in charge of the unit for the week, or maybe just for that day, please come down to the office to see me with a printed roster. And that printed roster is very helpful because even though we've got the roster on the computer system, the purpose here is we want to reconcile those two. We want to make sure that you've got the same people that you registered online, that everybody's here. If anybody's coming in late, you know that they're coming in late. Anybody last minute cancellations, anything like that, we'll reconcile that. Meanwhile, this guide is going to take the rest of the troop down to the campsite, and they will take them down there. And because they may be moving quickly to the medical recheck, we'd ask that the medical forms don't go with the Scoutmaster to the office, but travel with another adult leader down to the campsite with the guide. That way, if the troop is able to get right to a available medical officer, they're not waiting on the Scoutmaster to come back down with the medical forms. So medical forms with the scouts down to the campsite, Scoutmaster down to the office. Check in at the office is really quick, but we'll get you in and out as quickly as we can. The guides will also have a vehicle permit for you to be able to bring one vehicle down to transport gear. This is one pass per troop. So if you have multiple vehicles that need to deliver gear down to the site, we ask that you do it in sort of a relay fashion where one vehicle goes down. When they're done with the pass, they bring it back up, hand it off to the next vehicle, and so forth. Those of you that are familiar with our property know that we have some one-way roads around camp. The more vehicles we have going around camp on Sunday afternoon, the more difficult it is for everybody, including staff vehicles, to get around to facilitate the check-in. So we do ask that you please limit it to one vehicle per unit at the time, moving gear in. That vehicle pass does need to be returned to the office once your check-in is done. If you have someone in your unit that needs assistance in the form of has a mobility issues or some other form of medical need for a vehicle transportation, we can accommodate that, but that will give you a different pass for that. That signifies that that vehicle is allowed to be left at the campsite for the week. Otherwise, all vehicles should be back up at the parking lot once check-in and move-in are over. Park trailers are welcome to go to the sites. We need to make sure that they are we need to make sure that they are kept clear of the roads so that vehicles can get through, especially emergency vehicles and staff vehicles. And also, we don't want them into the campsites. That's where you end up with situations where they may be turning up ruts in the campsites, making them, less quality condition for the next group that's coming in. It's also a safety issue if we're backing trailers up into a campsite where kids might be moving around behind tents and things like that, and you may not see them. So there's usually a transition space for each campsite between the two, the road and the campsite, where they can take care of housing that trailer. Okay, some health and safety issues to review for everybody. For provisional scouts, they check in at the office and we will connect them with the unit they'll be staying with. So we will have a guide that will take them, if the other troop has already checked in and gone through, we'll have a guide that will deliver them down to that troop so that they can join them for the rest of the day's activities for med checks and swim checks and all the rest of that stuff. So check-in time, same as them, 1 o'clock. In fact, a few minutes after one's probably a little better so that the troop that they're staying with has been checked in, and then we can connect the two. All right, a few things from a health and safety standpoint. First off, all adults that are going to be coming to camp and supporting scouts and supervising scouts need to have current BSA youth protection training and must be cleared through the New York State background check prior to their arrival. So one way to ensure that you are cleared through the background check is on the homepage of the camp website. We have a link. There's a little section that says important links. I just put the website in the chat box. A little section that says important links, and right down in that list, there's one that talks about registration for the background check. Click in there, enter the information that is needed there, and that will we'll make sure that the background check is taken care of. That is a free background check, and so that will be taken care of by the staff. Yes, Ron, you'll be able to take your vehicle down to the site to drop off your gear. Okay. There is an additional piece to this, and this is something that got added last September. This is national policy under BSA, and so it's something that everybody should be aware of and be able to it should be following, which is that all adults that are going to be staying overnight need to be registered to your unit with Scouting America. Okay, that's the new rule that went into effect in September of last year. So what we used to refer to as the 72-hour rule that said that if an adult is staying in camp for less than 72 hours, they don't need to be registered with BSA. That's no longer the case. Now, any adult participating in any overnight activity for scouting must be registered to your troop. And notice what I said, to your troop. That policy does not allow for if you're registered as a merit badge counselor or if you're merit badge registered as a district or council registration or you're registered to a different unit. You're supposed to be registered to the troop that you're staying with. And the purpose of that is to make sure that the chartered organization of that troop has basically signed off on the fact that that leader is going to be camping with those scouts. So those of you that may be in linked troops, this is a really great opportunity to make sure that your folks are cross-registered between the two. And for anybody that may be camping with scouts that are not part of their primary registration, a multiple registration form is perfectly acceptable. Multiples, if you're not familiar with those in scouting, I'm registered with one troop or one pack or one crew, and I want to be registered with another one. You just fill out the paperwork. It's free. There is no registration fee for the second or third or fourth unit or form of registration, but you do need to go through the background check again. And if you have any adults that you are planning on having stay with you next week, and they are not registered with BSA to your unit, that needs to get done ASAP. It should get done online tonight if possible, or to the office first thing tomorrow morning, because it does require completion of the background check, which I'm told typically takes around 3 days, and that's typical. So it could be a little more, it could be a little less. So if you try to register someone with BSA on Friday, for example, they're not going to be cleared by the time you arrive on Sunday. So something to keep in mind, and just to remind everyone, this is something that applies to all overnight scouting activities. So even the troop campouts that you do on a weekend that doesn't involve resident camp, you go to Battleship Cove or you come up here for a weekend camping or something like that, you stay in overnight, all adults need to be registered to your unit with Scouting America. We do have some different ways in which we designate our registered adults and guests here at camp. All adults that are registered to us to be staying at camp and are cleared for the overnight supervision are given a wristband similar to this one of these silicone type wristbands. Any guests that are coming in for a short term, think parents' night for the barbecue or coming to drop off some fresh shoes or something like that and just going down to the site for a little bit for a quick visit, those individuals will be given one of those Tyvek wristbands like you get at the carnivals for admission. So we do designate the folks. Please make sure that the adults that are in your campsite have one of those forms of identification on them. If they don't, it means that they haven't signed in at the office. It's entirely possible that they may have checked in at the office when there was somebody had stepped away from the counter and they didn't know to get a wristband. That's okay. We just need to make sure that we get them registered and checked in. If you have scouts that need to leave during the week, sometimes they've got baseball games or doctor's appointments or something like that, there is a camper release form. It is available on the resources tab of our camp website if you'd like to fill it out in advance, or you can fill it out when you get to camp. The camper release form is going to be signed by the parent that is picking up the child. It also needs to be signed by one of the adult leaders that's remaining in the campsite. So basically, it's a confirmation by the troop that they know that that scout is leaving, so that everybody's in the loop and you don't get concerned a short time later that maybe one of your scouts is missing and we find out later that the parent picked him up to take him to a pre-scheduled baseball game. So that form is available online if you'd like to fill it out ahead of time through the resources page of the camp website. We stress the buddy system at all times. Please make sure that scouts are traveling with a buddy as they make their way around camp. Same thing for adults. It's a good idea for them as well, because you don't have to be under the age of 13 to slip on a trail and maybe need some assistance that a buddy can provide for you. Sign in, sign out system is something we use all throughout the camp. You'll have a sign in, sign out board in your campsite that has the little discs similar to the ones down at the waterfront. Folks sign out to go to their first activity, and as they make their way around the camp, they sign in and then sign out at the different program areas as they go through. For our emergency procedures, we have 2 sirens that we use. The first one goes off 3 times a day for a very brief test of usually about a second or 2 at 7 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 5 o'clock. If you hear it going off at those times, it's just a test. You could ignore it. Doesn't mean anything other than making sure the system is still working. If that siren goes off for a minute or longer, however, that means that we need to assemble the camp quickly. So we've got a lost camper, lost bather, or other similar sort of emergency. So we would ask that if that siren goes off, please gather as quickly as possible down at what's called the Tuscadaga field, which is the one between Tuscarora and Onondaga campsite where the Gaga ball pit is. Line the troop up and have everybody remain standing. When when everybody from the troop is present, and that does include adult leaders, have everybody in the unit sit or squat down in the field, and that way we can look across the field really quickly and see who's still waiting on folks. We do have a second siren we use that's called the Yelp. We use that for severe weather situations where we would want to get everybody into a more secure shelter like the dining hall or Seneca Lodge down at the waterfront. That sounds a lot more like an emergency vehicle siren, like an ambulance or police car. And if you hear that, please stress to the scouts that they should go to whichever of the two locations is closer to where they are when they hear the siren, not the one that's closest to their campsite where they think everybody else will be going. We will take attendance in both locations and use that attendance to communicate with you to make sure everybody is present. I will talk about both of those at breakfast on Monday morning to make sure the scouts know about them. I'd ask you to review them on Sunday just so that they're aware in case anything happens on Sunday night. But one that I don't talk about in the dining hall, but I want to make sure that you're all clear with is our active shooter procedures as well. Because we only have 2 sirens that we have available to us to differentiate between different signals. For an active shooter situation, intruders type situation, we will not use a siren, but we will use our staff radio communication out to the different program areas while program is in session. We will also use the Remind alert system, which I'll talk a little bit about more in a little bit here, to send a blast of message out to adult leaders and to scouts, or to staff rather, and adult leaders throughout the camp. And the message there is to simply just run into the woods. We lack the facilities that in the parlance of this sort of procedure is called a hardened facility, a place that could withstand a shooter assault. We just don't have those kinds of facilities in a camp like this. So the best, safest place for scouts and adults to go is to run deep into the woods, hide behind trees as far as they can get away from the threat. And that when the coast is clear, law enforcement will use the communications methods available to them, loudspeakers and things like that, to call people back in from where they are hiding. When you check in on Sunday, we will give a piece of marking tape, flagging tape to every adult leader. To each trooper, I should say. We will ask that the leader that's in charge, please place that on the outrigger of your tent or maybe on the bunk of your bed if you're staying in a lean-to. That's simply so that we know who the leader is that's in charge in the rare instance that we need to get a hold of you at night. 2 situations that could represent: if we have severe weather that falls after people have typically gone to bed, we're not really going to use the Yelp. We may play it, but we're going to be going directly to each campsite because especially if it's already started raining, you're not going to hear that siren very well in the tents. So we're going to go right to that adult leader's tent. We're going to wake you up and we're going to use you to help wake everybody else up and make sure that we get everybody guided down to a safe location. We also, if we are faced with a situation where there's an emergency at home at night and a scout needs to be picked up, we're going to go to that scoutmaster and ask for your help in identifying where that scout is and make sure that we're getting that person to meet their parents as they arrive. Our health and safety officer this year, our medical officer, is Josh Clark, who many of you know if you've been around the last number of years, and a longtime member of our staff. That's Josh in the picture there so that you can get to recognize who it is that you're looking for medical care. He is an EMT. We also have an EMT that our handicrafts director is an EMT, our ranger is an EMT. So we have a few different options for resources on property for medical emergencies. So keeping with the health and safety theme, all medications that are brought to camp do need to be in their original container. That includes over-the-counter medications, right? So please, none of the day of the week kind of pill canisters or something like that. Medications must be in their original container, and prescription medications must have the patient's name on them. We sometimes are faced with situations where a scout shows up and the medication has their parent's name or a sibling's name because they both take the same medication, and so they kind of just share a single bottle between the two of them. We can't have that. It's got to be the patient's name that is going to be using the medication while they're at camp. We do have 3 AEDs that are located throughout camp. One is down at the Ice House building down at Aquatics and stays down there all summer long. A second one travels with Josh as our health officer, and if he's ever off duty, he hands it off to whoever's taking over for him. And the third one is located in the camp office, though it is in a slightly different location than what you may be used to if you're familiar with its prior location. It used to be that when you walked into the administrative side of the office, when you first walked in the door, if you looked immediately to your right and looked up, you'd see the box right there on the wall. We've moved it to a cabinet on the other side of the wall in the conference room area. This way it can be more accessible to our camp masters during the other 10 months of the year that we're not running resident camp. So we do still have one at the office. It's just located in the other room, the conference room, and not the administrative side of the office building. Please limit the vehicles in camp. We talked about that a little bit before in terms of check-in, but make sure that we are following the speed limit when you pass the ranger's house and transition from the paved road to the dirt road at the end of Davitt Lake Road. The speed limit drops to 10 miles per hour. I would encourage you to keep it slow on Davitt Lake Road as well. One is because there are always deer on that road. I rarely travel up and down the Davitt Lake Road without passing deer. So from a safety standpoint, that's really important. There's a lot of blind curves on the turn. It's also good neighborly policy for us because all the folks that live on this road know exactly where all the traffic is headed at 12:30 on a Sunday afternoon in the summertime. So in order to help us to maintain positive relations with our neighbors, please make sure that we're keeping things flow as we're approaching camp, and 10 miles per hour inside the camp zone. Please, can't stress this enough, keep the vehicles out of campsites and off of grassy areas. We've gotten a lot of rain this summer, so a lot of the fields are very soft. And if you go off the hard pack of the roads and into fields, you may be able to get your vehicle out. You know, people say, "Oh, I got four-wheel drive." Okay, that's fine. You may be able to get your vehicle out, but you're probably going to leave a heck of a mess behind when you do. And that makes it very difficult to mow those areas later when they've got very deep divots in them. And we want to make sure that the camp is kept in just a good quality condition for the next group as we are presenting it for you. No riders in the backs of trucks or on trailers, please. That's another big safety issue when it comes to vehicles. All right, for communication, I talked about the Remind system a short time ago. This is an app that we've used very successfully over the last number of years to be able to broadcast alerts out to you all during the week. We do not use it a lot. We try to be respectful of your notification system there, but we'll let you know the honor troop each day, a couple of reminders each day about things like taking out trash and things of that sort. And if there's any sort of emergency situations that we need to alert you to, we would use the Remind system as well. To register for next week's alerts, you can either text the code you see on the screen there at 3RSR24 to the number 81010. So 81010 is the phone number you'd be texting it to, and that's the code, the class code. If you already have the Remind app, you can just go in, add a class, and the class code is 3RSR24. And if you add that in there, you will get our alerts during the week. We also have a newspaper, the Fire Starter, that is produced by our assistant ranger and put out at the breakfast tables each morning, that has schedules of all the activities that are going on that day, as well as other useful information. Our assistant ranger who publishes that paper is named Ed Keelan, and he also publishes those on his Facebook page. So I just put his name in the chat box for you. Even though it is a personal Facebook page, it is really the Facebook page of the Rotary alumni and the Thunderbird Club. That's pretty much all he ever posts on there. And he does post digital copies of the Firestarter newspaper there if parents want to follow along with what's going on at camp. So that's the Facebook there that I mentioned. A couple of email addresses for you to be aware of if you need them. My email is campdirector@rsrbsa.org. Jack, who's going to be talking in a moment here, our program director, same layout there, program director at rsrbsa.org if you have any questions for him. Food for our food service director, Sean Dibble, and medical to reach Josh. If we're getting like health forms sent in or anything like that, sending them to the medical at rsrbsa.org, for last minute signatures and stuff is usually a good way to make that work. For our dining services, we do serve a buffet style meal in our dining hall. And we have set up a Google form to collect information on food allergies and dietary restrictions. Our cook, Sean, who's been with us now for 4 years, does a fantastic job of accommodating folks who need alternatives due to dietary restrictions or allergies. But obviously, the more advanced notice we can have for that situation, the better, because we need to make sure that we have the food on hand. We need to order things in advance to make sure that it's here for you when you arrive on Sunday. So leaving that screen up there for a second, if you have a need to report any allergies or dietary restrictions, go ahead and hit that QR code and fill out the Google form. That form is also available via link in the planning guide that's posted on our website, as well as if you go to the food tab, the food section from the main website. So go to rsrbsa.org under more, across the top menu bar, drop down, select food, and you will get a link to that QR code as well. We do serve Wednesday lunch in the campsites, right? So during the week, we have the dining hall service, but we also have an optional food delivery during the rest of the week. It's a commissary option. So that means that if the unit chooses to cook out during the week, you have the option to do that. In your Scoutmasters package, you'll have a little menu that you can circle items that you'd like to do if you want to cook in the campsite for any meal between breakfast on Monday and dinner on Friday. The one kind of sort of exception to that is on Wednesday lunch, everybody eats in the campsites. This year we're doing cheese quesadillas and assorted fixtures with going along with that. So that does mean that you may want to think about if you have griddles or something like that in order to prepare the quesadilla. You don't have to heat them. If you want cheese sandwich, with stuff without heated, that's fine too. But if you want to be able to heat up those quesadillas, griddles are helpful. We do have some Dutch ovens in the office, in the quartermaster rather, that we found that flipping the lid of the Dutch oven upside down is also a good way to heat those quesadillas as well. So if you need to borrow some equipment from the commissary, you can do that. But the other meals during the week, you'll be able to choose what you'd like off the a la carte menu. So that's the patrol cooking. We do garbage pickup each night right after dinner. So the recommendation is, if you please, put your trash out before everyone heads down to dinner, because of course, what does everyone do as soon as dinner is over but scatters to every corner of the camp to go do our fun and exciting evening programs that Jack's about to talk about. So nobody is there to put the trash out. So put the trash out before you go down to dinner, and it'll be out there when the staff comes around at usually around 7:30 to pick up the trash from the campsites. Okay. Wednesday night is our family night barbecue. We will begin serving at 6 p.m. Tickets are available online at trcscouting.org. They are also available at rsrbsa.org, right? There is a link to the ticket purchase for the barbecue, either from the council calendar. It's listed as an event for next Wednesday at the barbecue at camp. Or if you go to the camp webpage, again, there's that important links section right at the top. One of them is a link to purchase tickets online. So folks can purchase their tickets online ahead of time. The price is $18 for ages 11 and up, $15 for those age 10 and under. We do the pig roast and chicken barbecue, as you see in the picture there, with a whole bunch of different sides. And it's a great time, great event, followed by the campfire that our scouts will put on a little bit later that evening around 8:15 p.m. We do want to remind you that all guests, anytime you come to camp, all guests must check in at the office, and that does not change on barbecue night. Everybody needs to stop at the office. That means even if you purchased your ticket online ahead of time, you still need to stop at the office, still need to sign in, grab your wristband, and also pick up your physical tickets, because the online purchase is basically pre-ordering, but you're going to get your actual physical ticket from me at the counter, and then you can take that down for the barbecue down at the dining hall. You're not required to purchase a ticket to eat. You're required to purchase a ticket to eat. You're not required to purchase a ticket if you're not planning on eating, and you're just planning on coming to see the scouts for a bit. And I mentioned that the campfire does follow at about 8 o'clock on Wednesday night, 8:15. Troop photos will be taken on Monday evening. They are $10 each. We take those photos after dinner, so the uniforms are still fresh and don't have spaghetti sauce all over them, hopefully, from later in the week. But we'll take those photos, and when the photos are taken, I will collect money if you have it, or we can settle up after that. But there are a couple pieces of information I'm going to ask the unit leader. The first is, would you like your chartered organization's name printed on the photo? Because photos get printed with a fancy border with some graphics and stuff like that. We usually put the troop number, the hometown, the chartered organization, if you wish. You don't have to have the chartered organization, but if you do. Just need to know what that is. And we'll also be asking you how many photos you'd like to order at that time. So if you could have that information ready to go on Monday evening, that would be fantastic. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Jack and let him talk about.
Hi, everyone. So, as excited as we are about all that wonderful administrative stuff, we're even more excited about the wonderful program that we have to offer you. So first, a couple of kind of program administrative things. Um, we have a merit badge pamphlet lending library, and those will be all the merit badge books will be stored at the different areas where the merit badges occur. So we have 9 areas throughout camp that each offer our different merit badges. You can find the merit badge pamphlets there. They are, good resources for diagrams and for any other things that you may need to, that your scouts may need to help them complete the merit badge. We also have merit badge verification forms. So some of our merit badges have prerequisites. So while we try to make sure that all of our merit badges can be completed entirely in camp, sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes there's a little bit of work that needs to get done ahead of time. And so our merit badge verification form allows you as the adult leaders to sign off on the requirements that have already been done. So that will just allow, having those ready for us will allow us to have a really smooth transition for those merit badges that have prerequisites instead of directors and instructors having to track down adult leaders and scouts as the week goes on, looking for those prerequisite forms. We think partials are good because partial means that you did a lot of the work, but what's even better than that is getting the complete merit badge and filling out that verification form, which can be found in your adult leader packets, is a great way to just make sure that we're making that completion process as smooth as possible. Additionally, we'll be offering midweek progress reports. So as Brian will talk to you about in a little bit, we use a system called Blackbug. By Wednesday after lunch, we make sure that on our end, every area has their Blackbug completely up to date. So you'll get to see every scout's progress up to Wednesday morning. So now the fun part, our specific programs. So we'll have campfires for you on Sunday night and Wednesday night. So Sunday night, that's our time to shine. That's the staff. We go out on stage and we put on a great show for you. Then on Wednesday night, it's the scouts' turn. And then they usually one up us and they get to put on a bunch of their own skits, songs, cheers, etc. On Tuesday, we have our camp-wide game. So this is a game where the entire camp participates. You break up into patrols, and they go out and they go to each program area. Will have a game set up in the parking lot, and they will go from area to area playing a different game. And now I can explain the camp-wide game a little bit more because I didn't want to spoil the theme. The theme this year is the RSR Olympics. Some of you may know that Rotary this year was chosen to host the Olympics. Our bid got selected. It was really good news. Everyone was really excited. So our camp-wide game is our decathlon event in the Olympics because we have roughly 10 areas. Um, and it will be part of our larger Olympic Games, which will be different events that will be going on throughout the week at the different program areas. And so, we'll have like an Olympic rifle shooting, for example, where, whichever scout shoots the best will win their troop a medal. Kind of like how, the fastest guy will win their country, will win his country a medal, those sorts of things. And we'll be keeping a medal count going throughout the week as these events keep going on in that morning fire starter, the morning paper. And so it'll be a really fun event that will expand kind of throughout the week. Little fun competition between the troops, so you can end the week with the most medals. And then in addition to that, we have a bunch of other wonderful open programs. So our open programs will happen between 4 and lunch, or excuse me, between 4 and dinner. And then we'll also continue after dinner as well. So that kind of 4 o'clock block, that's what we call our afternoon program. And then our after dinner block is what we call our evening program. There will be shoots. So we have like open rifle, open shotgun, open archery. We have open swimming. We have open climbing, open bouldering. We have a beautiful new bouldering pavilion that we're really excited to show off for you. And, we also have open crafts as well. So this is excellent for scouts who might not be taking rifle shooting merit badge, for example, but really like to shoot. They can go out there, they can do that, and they can participate in activities even if they're not necessarily taking the merit badges that correspond with those activities. We also have tomahawk throwing, bouldering, scout skill games. So, just a bunch of other fun stuff that kind of supplements those programs. And then we also have what we call TTFC Takeout, Trail to First Class Takeout. So our Trail to First Class programs are first year camper program. It helps scouts earn a lot of the requirements they need to get up to first class. But maybe a scout's not taking TTFC, or maybe they already have taken TTFC and still aren't quite at that first class rank yet. TTFC Takeout allows you to kind of pick and choose the requirements that you want to get done. So maybe your scouts only need 2, 3 requirements, for example. They can help out with, kind of doing it piecemeal and getting it done without having to take the full week of TTFC. We also have an LNT Awareness Award. Our ecology director is LNT certified and is more than willing to, teach you how to just really appreciate our great outdoors and, how to be conscientious in them. We also have a polar bear swim, which is at 6:30 in the morning every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So this is a great opportunity to come down to the waterfront, take a plunge into the cold water. You win a cool certificate at the end of the week. And yeah, it's a great opportunity. We have a lot of fun doing it. Also, new this year, we'll be offering our Paul Bunyan Award. That's how you can win one of these little axes. I almost said hatchet axe. Yeah. Um, it's as the name kind of implies, it has a lot to do with kind of outdoor skills and woods tools training. And yeah, it's a wonderful opportunity. It'll be offered kind of in pieces throughout the week. They'll have to go to different areas, but once they complete all the requirements, which they can do all in one week, they can earn one of these. We also have programs for adult leaders. So as Brian mentioned, our health officer, Josh, he's going to be offering wilderness first aid. We also have IOLS, which is Introduction to Outdoor Leadership Skills, another great program for adult leaders, which will be held on Tuesday and Thursday. And so there will be a lot of ways, I know like kind of the stereotypical, scoutmaster hangs out in the chair and sits around the campsite and, naps all day long. You can do that if you want. That opportunity is still there. But additionally, we're offering some programs and trainings for the adults as well. We also offer aquatic supervision. So this will, help with any sort of waterfront events that you as a troop might be trying to run. We'll offer that down at Aquatics, which covers swimming and water rescue, paddle craft safety. Oh, your Fitbit disagrees with that? Yeah. Good. Then, participate in some of our programs. So yeah, a lot of opportunities for adults if you want to get involved as well. And then also too, on August 11th, we have Merit Badge Completion Day. So any scouts that for whatever reason didn't quite finish up what they had done during their week with us here, they'll be able to come back on the 11th, which I believe is a Sunday, and come in and finish up anything else they need. So the week prior to our merit badge completion, our 5th week of camp this summer, is our STEM week. So during our STEM week, we offer all of our regular program plus some extra stuff. So this year we're offering chemistry merit badge, game design merit badge, automotive maintenance merit badge, scholarship merit badge, and programming merit badge, as well as the Nova Splash Award and the Nova Start Your Engines Award. So again, they can come back another week of camp. How great is that? And it's at a discount. I mean, can you beat it? You're getting more stuff and you're getting a discount for coming the second week. Deal doesn't get any better than that. Good luck finding a better deal than that. I know I couldn't find one. Again, that's August 4th to the 10th. And STEM Week's really cool because all those people that we're bringing in to, do those merit badges, they're really experts in all those fields. So, they're getting the opportunity, maybe you can have them go home and change your brakes or something like that. But a really great opportunity to, come back to camp for another week and expand upon what they've already done.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack. We've got lots of really fun programs this summer, and really excited to see your kids trying them out. We'll talk a little bit more about them as we're going through here. Jack talked about our Black Bug system. This is the system we use for registering folks for camp, but it's also where we maintain our merit badge records. So at the throughout the week, as counselors are working with the scouts on their merit badges, they will be updating that Black Pug record. Now, it varies a little bit from program area to program area because, you have programs like, say, climbing and archery that only have one merit badge versus ecology that I think has 15 or 16. There's also a variety of access to the internet in the different program spaces. So they may not be able to update on a daily basis, but as Jack mentioned before, they will be fully updated by Wednesday at lunchtime, and they'll be updated again, of course, at the end of the week. And some of them are updating on a daily basis, and you'll be able to track that within your Black Pug registration. You see the sample over there on the right-hand side. If you look at the three tabs on top, there's one that says Reports. And if you click on that Reports tab in your registration, you can see there's a few different ways in which the data is presented to you. The best one is usually the unit advancement detail document, and that pulls up a PDF that shows you exactly all the requirements for the merit badges that your specific scouts are taking and how they're progressing, which ones they've completed and on which days they were marked off. So you can follow that information throughout the week, and we'll give you a printout on Wednesday. Something to note is that at the end of the summer, I'm sorry, not at the end of the summer, at the end of your week, typically right in the beginning of the next week, we will upload the records from Black Pug of the work that your scouts did during the week into Scoutbook. And so we will export all that up there. You will not have to manually transfer that. I just did it today. It actually worked really well. It's worked a little bit more cleanly than the BSA technology has worked for me sometimes in the past. So I'm really excited about that. The other thing that I noticed is that in the past, partials and rank advancement requirements were not able to be uploaded by me into Scoutbook. You had to manually move those, and it looks like both of those went through today. So the only thing that is not getting uploaded would be any BSA awards. Think of a lot of the aquatics ones, mile swim, BSA lifeguard, snorkeling, things that are not merit badges, but are also not rank advancements. Those we are just not able to upload into Scoutbook. Scoutbook doesn't permit it. So all those records, as well as all the merit badge records, will continue to live in perpetuity within your Black Pug reservation for the week on that reports tab. And the unit can just manually enter those few things over into Scoutbook if that's what you're using. I will offer a training next week for anybody that's interested, that if you're listening to me right now talking about Black Pug and Scoutbook and all these different data management systems and your head's kind of spinning a little bit, don't worry about it. I will be happy to go over that with you. I'll be offering a training next Thursday afternoon for anybody who'd like to learn a little bit more about how these systems work, particularly the Black Pug, how Black Pug works, and how we're able to use that for registration and advancement record keeping. All right. So last thing I just wanted to kind of touch on here is the idea of adult supervision, right? Adult supervision is one of the essential elements of the scouting model. And it's very important to a successful camping experience as well. Obviously, we run a different kind of a program than a lot of camps, right? Kids that go to, say, Ginger Cook or YMCA camps or camps run by different other organizations, they may be sent up, and the staff has complete supervisory responsibility for those children throughout the whole week. They manage the bunks at night, things like that. The scouting model has you, the adult leaders, and the parents that are coming with the scouts in the campsites. We'd also ask for a little bit of help during the day and in the evenings, especially in some of our areas here. When we all know that, when large groups of kids start hanging out with one another, oftentimes, most of the time, it's really great. Sometimes, though, it can be a little bit problematic, right? And we can see those disagreements or shenanigans develop that happens there. So we would ask you, particularly in the evening, if you've got groups of scouts that are headed to a particular area, they're going to come down to the basketball court, they're going to the shower house, they're going to the chessboard, things like that, please send an adult with them to help provide supervision for that. It's oftentimes at night that things become problematic down at the shower house. We've got a couple things Jack talked about, and you saw the picture of our new chessboard there, which is super cool, where it's like 3-foot size chess pieces, and people have been using it all the time, playing chess on the big board there. We expanded our basketball court, so it's now twice as large. It's got 2 basketball hoops, and it's set up for pickleball. We've painted the lines for pickleball. We've got a net there. We've been doing a little social experiment over the last week. I wasn't sure that anything could knock basketball out of the #1 position in camp. Pickleball has taken over the court. There's been more pickleball being played in the last week or two than there has been basketball. but there's been a lot of basketball being played too. It's actually been fantastic. The scouts have overall been doing a really good job of deciding when we're going to do pickleball, when we're going to take the net off and do basketball. Sometimes they've even turned the pickleball net 90 degrees and played half court of both simultaneously. So it's been great. I even saw at one point they had a show of hands. They were doing a democratic vote as to which one they were going to do. So it's been working out really fantastic. Jack mentioned the bouldering pavilion as well. That's another big development that we put in place this year for a program. But just think that basketball court, the chessboard, the shower house, they're all kind of in that area. That tends to be the area where we could really use some help with some adult supervision at night, or when even during the daytime when large groups are traveling down there. We did, just so you're aware, we a couple things to try to help reduce some of the shenanigans and issues that we may have had in the past. The Gaga ball pit is still there, but it is covered with a pool cover. And there are signs posted that say that the Gaga ball pit is to be used only when supervised by adults or staff. So if you would like to take your scouts, if your scouts want to play Gaga, you're welcome to take the scouts down to the pit, take the cover off and play. We have a ball that's available. It just stays at the health lodge. So it can be checked out there and you bring it down there to play the game, as long as it's being supervised by adults from your troop. And then when you're done and you're going to walk away, tarp goes back on, ball goes back to the health lodge, and that gets covered there. So there's that. The other thing that we did is with the shower house, we did spend some time and money this summer to put in soffits above the individual shower stalls and in the overhangs of the roof there, so that to try to minimize on the unfortunate thing that we've had sometimes in the past of people tossing things over across from one stall to another and things like that. So that has cut down on some of that, but we still have inappropriate conversations, yelling going on, things like that back and forth, where we could use some extra supervisory assistance. That background check form, Jack just posted a link to it in the chat form. It's not on the council website, it's on the camp website. So if you go to rsrbsa.org, it's right under our important links right on the main page, or it's right there in the link that Jack just posted. So you can go in and enter that information. I don't want to talk about adult responsibilities for supervision without emphasizing and underlying something Jack talked about with in terms of adult fun, all the training sessions that we offer. We also encourage you to take advantage of the programming. There's other training activities, but also last week we had a scoutmaster that took 2 merit badges. He wanted to learn more about forestry. He wanted to learn more about geocaching, so he went and he took them as a scout. He sat in and did the sessions. And on Wednesday night, when the forestry group presented, safe forest fire management practices, he was up there with the kids doing part of the presentation for that. So you're welcome if you'd like to sit in and participate in any of our merit badge classes, as long as it's not taking opportunities away from youth. Like for example, in a shooting sports area where adding more people to a program decreases the amount of shooting time for everybody else. But if it's just, sitting in on the other activities, you're more than welcome and encouraged to go and hang out and learn something, right? Learn a few skills that maybe you want to use in your own life or share with your scouts. So with that, those are our formal presentations here. So we want to turn it over to you. Any questions that you may have, feel free to throw them in the chat, or as I say, kind of open up your mic or raise your digital hands there, and be happy to answer any questions that you might have about camp.
Hey Brian, it's Rob. Do we can we just bring scouts by for fingerprinting merit badge, or you'd rather us register in the system like all the other badges?
I mean, it's helpful to register in the system because eventually we do need to put them in the system. So for record keeping purposes, so that it's tracking the merit badge. So if they're already in there, that's useful. But we know that there are scouts that are going to decide at the last minute, hey, this is a good night to go down, and that's fine too. So either system is okay. If scouts go down there, just make sure that when the scouts go down there, that they do sign in, so that we have a record of who was there, and we can make sure that they're properly credited for the work that they did.
Okay.
Other questions?
Do the parents have to have the YPT and background checks?
Not for a visit. If anybody that is participating overnight or is being responsible for supervision. So I would say, if you've got, sometimes we might have a day shift, night shift thing going on with parents for the troops, so that, you've got somebody that's going to be coming up for the full day and providing supervision because somebody else had to go off for work. We would ask them to meet the same expectations as an overnight leader, but the YPT, the background check, and the Scouting America BSA registration are requirements for any adults that are staying overnight.
Okay.
Anyone that's just coming in for the barbecue, or if they're just coming in for a short visit, does not need any of those things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Brian. I've got two questions. One
Sure.
is in regards to the TTFC takeout.
Yeah.
One of the hard ones that we're getting filled now is the drug requirement, 7C for second class,
Mhm.
because Massachusetts doesn't have dairy anymore.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's something that can be facilitated.
We could certainly take a look at it. I'm not familiar with the specifics of what the requirement asks for, but Dan's really good. If we can work on something, and maybe if it's not Dan, maybe we could find somebody else within the staff that would be in a position to be able to support that requirement. As I said, I'm just not familiar with the exact language off the top of my head of what's needed for that. But yeah, we could certainly take a look at trying to get that done.
Awesome. And my last one was in regards to the Gagaball pit. Obviously, we were in Onondaga this past week, and we opened it up a couple times for scouts.
Mhm.
I know it says adult leader or staff. Are CIT staff, if they're a member of the troop that they open it for?
We're looking for somebody a little bit older than a 15-year-old CIT to provide that supervision. Somebody that's going to have the maturity to recognize when maybe gameplay is getting out of hand a little bit, or when you've got situations that may be developing amongst campers that we need some supervision for. So I would not consider an unsupervised CIT to be that level of supervision.
So it would be like a normal member of staff or an adult leader.
Correct.
I think I'm not naming names, so maybe you just want to communicate that to your CITs then.
Okay, we'll do that.
It wasn't an issue because it was right there and we were there, and an adult leader from another troop came over halfway through.
Okay.
But a CIT opened it up. So
Okay. Good
just
to
for my
know.
own information, like I said, because I'm like, I'm not, I don't know if you can or can't. He says, well, I'm staff. I'm like, all right, dude, I'm not telling you no.
So that's good to know, because I've only heard anecdotally, because I don't see the pit most of the time where it's located. So I'm only hearing anecdotally that a couple of units had opened it up, and that's great. If you want to do that, that's fantastic. But yeah, we'll have that conversation with our CITs, and I think it would be appropriate for them to be a little older than that. So
It's in the second class one. Someone put it in the chat. I mean, it's very wordy. So, but those are my two questions. Thank you.
Yeah, you had mentioned about the background check clearance. I submitted my application, but you said there was a link to check to make sure everything went through to verify I'm all good. Where's that link? I can't find that.
I didn't say there was a link to verify, but if you when you submitted it through the Google form, it should have sent you a response back that said that your response has been received. So that would be your receipt for that verification. But if you want to email me, I can look it up. But there's not an automatic.
Okay.
There's not a place that you can go to look to check that.
Okay, thanks.
The health insurance info. Do you still need a copy of the card? We need whatever the form asks for, which I think says a copy of the card, but that's not going to be the deal breaker that's going to keep a kid from going through the swim test or anything like that. But we would ask them to include the card with that. Yeah, the health and medical record is a national thing. That's a national requirement. So, our latitude to make adjustments to that is minimal. Officially, BSA requires that is the form that is submitted for all overnight or all scouting activities. Is that officially, we sometimes get the question of can we substitute a school physical for Part C or something like that, or some other physical, and the official answer from BSA is no. The Part C is the only acceptable part of that. We will accommodate those kinds of things if the alternative form has everything that Part C is looking for. So we can do that, but sometimes those school physical forms are. I've seen some of those school physical forms, and they're basically like the doctor is acknowledging that the child is still alive, and signs off to that fact. And we do need a little bit more information than that for the Part C. And kind of the same thing with the other information that's asked for on the form. Other questions? All right, well, I'm going to just stop the recording. Jack and I will hang out here for a little while longer, and happy to answer any additional questions that you might have. And I know sometimes people might prefer to ask offline, that's fine. So I'm going to stop that now.